Hey there, YouTube. Cine here. I'm going to do a review of Bumblebee. I just went to go see it. As you can see, I'm wearing my... Oh, wait, no, I'm not. Well, it was a walk to Nostalgia Land, since they based the movie out of 1987, and I found myself singing along to a lot of the 1980s songs that came up. I don't think Rob Bass came out in 87. I think he came out in the 90s. And other just minor things like what's up with the N7 uniforms. John Cena calls himself a major, but he's clearly wearing Colonel's Eagles on his collar. It's like, bro, really? And also learn how to salute. But other than that, the acting was okay for the lead and the secondary character. I was happy to see Simmons was in there as part of the N7 crew. It was good to see less time, I guess you could say, wasted on the transforming of the Transformers, because the Michael Bay ones took like forever. I don't mind hearing the noise and stuff, but it's like, oh my god, really, just transform already. Because if you watch the OG cartoon, it was just like they would transform and then boom, go, Autobots roll out, and then they gone. Other than that, the story was okay. To me, it seemed like they were trying to make it a 80s rom-com, because they kept referring to this one 80s movie. I forget which one it was. At the very end, the guy throws his hand up in the air. And they show you how Bumblebee actually loses his voice. And I didn't know that they were going to do that, because I thought it was basically going to be a reboot, which it kind of retcons the Michael Bay Transformer series at the very end. It wasn't really an end scenes credit, because the credits went by really quickly. It was just like a scene that there was like a pause in the movie, and it came up. I was like, okay. But the thing that fell flat for me was like the other supporting characters. They really weren't very interesting. They were not as funny as the parents were in the first two Transformer movies. I really enjoyed their interaction with each other and with the lead character. I would say the writing could have been better, and they probably should have brought in like a couple other people to work on the comedy to get more laughs out of it, because Marvel does this really well. They hit you with some comedy, but then they go into serious stuff. And the main character's story arc, I felt, was really weak. She really didn't go through what I would call a valid hero's journey, because if I would have been writing it, I would have made her go through more episodes trying to deal with the things that she was supposed to be dealing with. They were trying to do an emotional thing, but it's like I really didn't feel that, believe it or not. I actually felt more for the Lost Dog trailer that came before the movie started than I did for the entire movie for this one. And another issue it has is pacing, because there's a lot of, I guess, filler scenes that you see when you're watching it, and you're like, okay, when's the exciting stuff going to happen, or when is somebody going to say something that's going to advance the story? When is she going to talk about her fears, which she should have been either talking about or dealing with, or having something happen. They tried doing some 80s movie tropes, but they were not successful at doing the tropes at all. like things that you could see that were going to happen. It was like it's pretty obvious. It was like, okay, I saw that happening a mile away, and then I was kind of surprised that they didn't really treat it that well. Back in the '80s, there was a bunch of these teen comedy slash or the romance ones when you had the blonde haired jerk uh, like the guy from Karate Kid. There was another, I guess, a low rent version of him that I saw a lot of times in the '80s movies, and he would show up, and you knew exactly what was going to happen. They were very formulaic, but this one, I guess, they didn't watch enough to learn the formula or apply any lessons learned. It does have some exciting action scenes. They don't seem to go on too long. I thought it was a really odd choice that they chose John Cena to be a lead character for this, especially since the N7 wasn't really a military branch, and they made them seem like they were a military branch, so maybe they're changing that direction as well. But they weren't like the Nest team that was in the other Transformer movies. They were still supposed to be some kind of branch of Intel. I think the other thing maybe was a lack of focus for them to. I mean, the plot was pretty straightforward, and maybe that's why they didn't really advance the story, because the things I had mentioned about the hero's journey could have been better. She could, like I said, she could have struggled with more things in the interactions with the other characters. Could have been either more humorous or more dramatic. I did like the character designs as well that they had for the characters, and the opening scene was really interesting. We finally get to see a little bit less DC world Cybertron, so this wasn't like super dark. You got to see, I think, even though it was filmed like it was a war-torn area, it wasn't like the previous Transformer films. And I would say I would give this an overall C plus. It's not quite B material, and that's due to the fact that I had all the things that I mentioned before. If you want to go see it and you like watching big explosions on screen, you can go watch it. But it's not like a Transformers 1 or 2, and it's not like Saving Private Ryan when there's huge battles at the very beginning and throughout the whole movie. And if you don't really care for watching that kind of thing on the big screen, you can wait for this to come out on Blu-ray, DVD, or digital download. And I don't think there's a real big rush. All right, I'll see you in the next review.